What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Fig Heel YouTube channel, and this is the premiere edition of Heel Chat with the Fig Heel. And our first guest is none other than host of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, host of MC True Long Island Story, former WWE superstar, former AEW superstar, current Impact Wrestling superstar, Matt Cardona. Matt, how's it going, dude?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Ah, pleasure, man. Thanks for coming on. So, I was thinking about what accolades should I talk about with you, right? So I focused on what's current, right? Your pods, where you are now as far as wrestling, but you have a lot of stuff. You have a lot of championships that I
That's
could
right.
have listed, a lot of stuff that you do online. You're known as the $1,000 broski, known as the Michael Jordan of wrestling figure collecting.
Yeah.
But I always watch from afar. I try not to comment too much on stuff. I like to watch the community, how they communicate. And I think that you are the John Cena of wrestling figure collecting. Now,
wow.
Let me explain to you why. It might not be a good. Let me explain, okay?
Hey, I take that as a compliment.
Dude, John Cena, guaranteed Hall of Famer, right? Legend. He's one of the GOATs. You're one of the GOATs in wrestling figure collecting, but John Cena, he has this, there's this small community of people who, for no reason, unrightfully, boo him and hate him, right?
I mean, it is what it is. It comes to the territory.
Yeah.
I mean, do I wish everyone loved me? Of course. It's not a reality. It comes to the territory, and it is what it is. Sometimes do I instigate it? Yes. And two wrongs don't make it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, should I post AEW chase figures next to a container of salt? Probably not.
But you do it because you're also kind of instigated to do it. Like,
but I don't want to, yes, but there's no excuse. Listen, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's what it is. And I can't say I don't understand. I get where some people are coming from, but I worked very hard to build the career that I've built, to build the collection that I've built. And if you're an outsider looking in, oh my God, Ringside Collectibles just gave him these chases. Okay, because I built a relationship with John and Trevor from Ringside for almost 20 years. They're my friends. They're my business partners. They gifted me those chase figures. Yep. So I can understand why people get upset about that. I get it.
Dude, trust me. I don't have near some of the stuff that you have. I get it all the time too. It's like, oh, you're so lucky. That's like, do you think I just fell into all this? Like, this is just.
And that's another thing too. Like, people assume that I get all this stuff for free. I wish I got all this stuff for free.
Dude, we had
check my credit card statements, my PayPal statements, bro. I probably get about 5% of the stuff that I have my collection for free. And I'm very grateful for that, because, Mattel or Jazzwares or Boss Fight Studio or NECA sometimes send me like influencer samples. But there's other influencers out there. If you want to be an influencer, build your brand.
Absolutely. And there's nobody that could hate that if Jazzwares came to them and said, hey, do you want to take these figures and do a review on them? They're not going to say no. Everybody's going to say, yeah,
right.
Yeah, do it. Let's do it.
Right. And the 9 times out of 10, if Jazzwares or Mattel sends me something, I've already bought it. Dude, I've already bought it.
I absolutely hear you. Hear you. So yeah, that's what I think. The John Cena of wrestling.
I like that. I might squeeze it into the major pod intro next week.
Dude, some people, it's almost like they think it's cool to hate. It's like,
and listen, it is what it is. And listen, I'd be lying if I said it doesn't bother me, because every once in a while something does get under your skin 100%.
Somebody knows the right thing to say.
Yeah, but it is what it is. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I love all my fans. I love all my haters, because that's just life. That's his business. If you put yourself out there, you cannot expect everybody to like you.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And we'll end this little part with this, is that there's a lot of celebrities and wrestlers who you can't even tag them in a photo, let alone DM them and have them respond back. And you're very good at responding to people.
And I think, if you are a genuine fan of whether it be my wrestling career or the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, you know the deal. You know that, I'm a collector at heart, a fan at heart. I just so happen to be a wrestler and just so happened to have started a podcast. And don't get me wrong, my career and my podcast wouldn't be successful without my fans. So I don't take that for granted one bit.
Absolutely, man. I agree. So, but yeah, so before you were the Michael Jordan of wrestling figure collecting, you were Long Island Ice Z, and you were doing this big Z True Long Island Story show, which I followed from the very first episode, you know, and now you're doing MC True Long Island Story, which is basically, I look at it, there's a lot of different ways you guys describe it. I look at it, it's almost like a commentary, like on a DVD, like when, you know, the commentary.
That's a good way to
track.
describe it. I like that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you guys were first talking about it, I was like, man, how's he going to turn these like 5-minute episodes into like a, you know, a longer podcast? But there's so much that goes into production. There's so much that goes into these little skits that you do and the editing and like fun facts that like people who are fans are going to want to know. So, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about what MC True Long Island Story is?
Yeah. So if you know anything about my career, love me or hate me, I started a YouTube show a decade ago called Z True Long Island Story. It ran for 100 episodes, and it changed my life. It changed my career, and it took me a while to finally like give myself a pat on the back and realize, you know, it did change the business, you know, and 10 years later, I wanted to just drop a reunion episode on YouTube, kind of like a big surprise. And myself and Smart Mark Sterling, the MajorWFPod producer, we were working on it. Just had a couple ideas, nothing. Listen, we didn't like film anything or anything like that. And then it was Mark's idea to do a podcast, because a lot of podcasts now are, for instance, Victory, the podcast. It covers Entourage episode by episode, and it's with the guys from the show. Yep. And I thought that's actually a cool concept. Let's try it out. So that's what it is. It's a deep dive into each episode, but not just like what went into each episode, what was going on in my life, in my career, and also, if it makes sense, like what was going on in wrestling.
Yeah.
So, and we're releasing each episode exactly 10 years later. So episode 2, yeah. So episode 2 we just recorded. I'm not sure when this comes out, so I don't know if episode 2 is out yet. But the podcast will come out every Thursday, just like the old YouTube show. And the beauty of it is it's a podcast, an audio podcast, but we have to, like we're doing right now, we have to record in Zoom because with the pandemic and stuff, we don't live next to each other. You know, we don't live in the same state. So I figured, well, if we're recording the conversation anyway, why not put it on YouTube? Because that's where the YouTube show lived. So this isn't skits. This isn't like, you know, I'm not dressing up. It's just a podcast. And we just so happen to put the video of it on YouTube because some people like to watch things on YouTube, you know, whether they're, you know, eating breakfast, putting something on YouTube, or if they're at the gym or driving, listening to a podcast. So we put that out there for as many people to consume in whatever way they want.
And it's great content. It's great. Everybody likes behind the scenes. If you're a fan of something, you almost always want to know just a little bit more. You know what I mean? And so what I think a lot of people who maybe didn't follow Z True Long Island Story when it was happening, they might not understand exactly what was happening outside the story. You know what I mean? Because as a fan, a wrestling fan, I was watching the show. I was at live events, you know, and while WWE, they might not have shot you into the title picture. If you were at a live event, there was rider chants. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I remember being at a live event in Wildwood in New Jersey. And I can't remember exactly the match, but I remember there was something with Cena and you did a run in at the end. And it was like the good guys, like chase the bad guys out of the ring. And I was like, man, like to have, that's a huge honor to even like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's all a result of this show.
Yeah. 100%. You know, I put it like this in the simplest terms. I started the year doing nothing. I ended the year the United States champion. Episode 1 of the show, I'm doing like stupid, not figure photography, but I'm playing with a Zack Ryder versus The Rock figure. I end the year, The Rock's in the middle of the ring at MSG, and they're chanting my name over him. So a lot changed in that year, but it's all because of the fans.
It's a storybook ending.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting story. And the whole point of this podcast, the new one, is to really inspire people to take a chance on themselves, whether it be wrestling or creating a podcast, whatever their passion is, because now we live in this world where the opportunities, you can create them yourselves. And, you know, the internet's free. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
everything's free. So it's a double-edged sword because there's a lot more competition, but the opportunity is there to create your own content, build your, I hate this term, but build your own brand, you know, and get your name out there.
Yeah.
And if I can inspire just one person to do that, it will be worth it. But I hope I can inspire many.
Oh, well, I mean, just being in the wrestling figure community alone, I can definitely see you guys have inspired quite a few people to start their own brands and such. And but like I was saying, like people who may not have followed at the time, followed Zitrong's story, or maybe they were watching Raw or SmackDown, and maybe they're like, oh, he's not even on TV that much, or he's not even on TV this week. There's this archaic thinking that like TV equals you're over, but that's not necessarily the truth, especially in modern wrestling, you know? And one thing that really stood out to me that showed how over you were, and you and I were merch guys, the amount of Zack Ryder merchandise was absolutely insane. Like you had custom glasses, you had these custom wigs, growth charts. These are things that if you opened up a 1991 catalog, these are things that Hulk Hogan would have, right?
Yeah, it's great,
like, it's really honest. Like that's what it would be.
And I'm a collector, so of course I try to have one of every piece of merchandise.
Yeah.
So I have a tote in my garage of some of this stuff, and I was just looking through it recently, like slippers, night lights, ridiculous things, garden gnomes.
I have this right here. This just shows that you made it. Okay, this is Scholastic. This is a school library.
I have that, yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
Nobody gets a school library book, but there's a Zack Ryder school library book. And you can't just buy this. This is like you have to like have the in with like a library.
Yeah.
And, like it's insane the amount of stuff that they had. But like that just went to show that like whether they saw whatever in you, they saw dollar signs, which is why this stuff got put out. Do you know what I mean? They knew that there
100%.
was a fan group that was going to buy this merchandise, and that's why they were putting it out. You were on Party Favors. You went to Party City. You were on the Party Favors with John Cena.
I said this on episode 2 of the podcast. I said like the fans realized I was onto something, and then I realized I was onto something, and then the merchandise department realized I was onto something, and then WWE realized.
Yep.
Because I was selling merch. I was a top merch seller, and I was barely on the show.
Which is,
and I think that's the fans. That's the fans, you know.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to ask you your favorite and strangest Zack Ryder merch, but is there anything that you pitched for a piece of merchandise that just never got made?
I mean, the internet title. I wanted that
foam titles or like real,
like the replicas, foam titles. I know there. It was going this. I found this out years after the fact when Wrestling Superstore or Figures Inc. was making the belts. They were supposed to make the title. It didn't happen. Long story short, I don't know why it didn't happen, but there's a couple samples out there. And like I've tried to buy them, but the prices are insane because, you know, the belt community is huge. I'm not a big belt guy. I respect it. I appreciate it. I'm not very knowledgeable about it. So those titles go for a lot of money, and I couldn't justify spending more money than I spent on the actual title for a fake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A replica of yours. Like
right.
Yeah. But so now you're doing MC True Lion Story on the MajorPod network. But I mean, the flagship show, should we call it, is the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast with you, Smart Mark Sterling, and Brian Myers, obviously. And we talk about pretty much everything that I love, wrestling figures, you know, and it's starting to turn into more action figures in general. Like I see the evolution happening.
Yeah, we you know, because we all collect.
Yeah.
So like Ninja Turtle stuff comes up every once in a while, or Star Wars, but we try to keep those in our weekly purchases discussions as opposed to like in our news. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it can't be the Major Action Figure Podcast. It'll be forever. It'll be 10 hours long.
Yeah. There's endless content.
Right.
So I mean, you've had obviously your own WWE figures, but now you've grown on to creating your own figures, you know, doing what you've done for years, really making your own brand. Like even when you were on somebody else's under somebody else's umbrella, you're making your own stuff. You're making your own figures. And I mean, that's obviously a much longer and more grueling process than having Mattel make your own figures or Jack. So what is the process like for an independent company like you guys, or when you do them with Ringside, or when you're like, you know, you got the zombie figures and the Bobby Vala, what is the process for that? As far as that goes, like how involved are you?
Yeah. So with Jackson Mattel, like every time I got a figure, it was always the coolest thing. I never got old.
Mm-hmm.
Especially my last WWE figure is that Ringside Collectibles exclusive Edgeheads.
Yep.
That was all my idea. I had pitched that to Mattel, to Ringside. I said, listen, you guys do the interchangeable heads. Why not do an Edge with Edge heads? You know, Hawkins and Ryder. And it finally went through, you know, so I'm very, very proud of that. But the Ringside Collectibles figures, we had this bootleg t-shirt. It just was like bootleg AWA Remco figures with two guys in lucha hoods wearing like what's the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast? So MWFP. It was like supposed to look like bootlegs, and it was just a shirt. And we thought of, well, what if we made these into actual figures, right? And Ringside, they were on board, and you know, it really took off. But we started this process really early on into our podcast. So we had ordered 1,000 2-packs in total. So 500 of one set, and then 250. We weren't sure how these were going to do, you know, and it takes a long time for figures to get made. Even like, you know, these are generic and they look like bootlegs and Remcos, but we still had to make the molds and create the molds and pay for the molds, which are super expensive. So the first set comes out and it sells out in minutes. And we're like, oh no, because the next two sets are 250, not 500. We're like, oh no, the fans are going to be so upset. And it was unfortunate, but like we couldn't order more, you know what I'm saying? Because we knew it would take so long to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were doing that while we were in WWE, and we were very smart because with Z Trolling Island Story, I'm not going to bore you with this long story, you know, WWE owned everything because I was doing it as Zack Ryder, right? So I knew, and that's what MC Trolling Island Story it will get into that kind of stuff. But I knew with this podcast, which by the way, Brian and I had pitched to WWE, let's do like the Zach and Kurt wrestling figure show. They didn't see anything in it. They didn't see anything in podcasts.
That's a blessing in disguise though, dude.
What's that?
That's a blessing in disguise though.
A blessing in disguise. So we started doing it on our own as Matt and Brian, and we were very careful because of what I learned with Z Trolling That Story. Everything's Matt and Brian. We cannot use our likeness on certain things. So with the figures, we had the mask on, but you knew, you know, you saw our beards, you knew. So now, since we're out of WWE, we have the next line through Ringside Collectibles, but we're on masks. So it was us all along. And the cool thing is, since we already have the molds with the masks, they will come with masks, but it will be like interchangeable heads with our real faces underneath.
Very cool.
But right now with like the pandemic and especially now with Chinese New Year, those figures have been delayed a bit, but they're all going to come at once, and then we're going to space out how we sell them. We're not going to put them all for sale at once, but they're all shipping at once. So that's good at least. So once we have them in stock, we'll figure out a game plan and an order and stuff like that.
Very cool. Yeah. So it's cool because when I was looking at, you know, because I've pre-ordered the Super 7s, obviously I have the Remco style figures just because I have to have everything, dude. But it's cool because the Remco style ones, they represent the early years of wrestling figures, like as far as articulation.
Right. Like they're supposed to look like bootleg figures. Like that is the charm of them. Like the logos are dumbed down, especially now, you know, when we have the unmasked versions, like we even dumbed down our gear because we want it to have that feel and that charm. But the Super 7s, bro, like you talk about how hands-on were we with these Super 7s. It was incredible because when a Mattel gets made, that's it. You know what I'm saying? It's made. Yeah. You know, like maybe I'll try to get something changed, but doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For these Super 7s, like we took all these detailed photos. We pitched what accessories we wanted to come with. You know, for instance, like the $1,000 broski bucks or the mini figures or the major pod mics. And then we got the test shots, or I guess it's a prototype. It wasn't even a test shot yet. It was hand painted. They sent it to us. And then we like made a list of like, okay, change this, change that. I even said, I need to be more jacked, you know, like, so we had all the input. I don't know if Super 7 appreciated that or hated us for it, but like, even like, oh, the color of that button on my vest is off, you know, like if we have the opportunity, I'm
Why
going to
not?
try to make these the most detailed wrestling figures and most accurate wrestling figures ever created. That is my goal with these.
Absolutely. And it's cool because just wrestling figures in general have evolved so much. And I was thinking like, you have these Super Sevens coming out, and they are, they're the ultimates. They're equivalent to what is the WWE Ultimate Edition, right? Like as far as articulation, they're equivalent to the Unrivaled articulation, where I'm thinking like, if you guys stayed in WWE, would you have even gotten an Ultimate style figure yet? You know what I mean?
No way. Bro, we were in WWE. We couldn't even get a basic. We couldn't even get a battle pack. We won the titles. Listen, I am grateful for my time in WWE. I'm grateful for every figure I ever got from Mattel.
It's a head scratcher.
But we were giving Mattel essentially a free advertisement every week, doing the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. We won the tag team titles at WrestleMania, and we still couldn't get figures.
Yeah,
it was like mind-boggling to me. It really was.
But so like I was thinking about that, how much figures have evolved, and I recently did like a little video about it. So like, we went from this with no articulation, which I love LJNs, and then we have these like Ultimate style AEW Super Sevens with insane amounts of articulation. Where do you see, like, how much more advanced can we get?
Right. What are we gonna do? Use real skin? Like, what are we gonna do?
That's the only thing I could think of, that they start to do like a bone style, and you cover it in like a PVC style.
Well, they kind of did that. Remember with was it Jack's Unlimited? Was that the name of the set?
Yeah.
And then if you look at some of those now, like the skin like melts off and breaks off. Weird. It's real crazy.
But like, where do we go from here?
I don't know. And to be honest, like I almost think like they're too articulated. Like it's great for like figure photography and stuff like that. But oh man, it's like, are we gonna like do every individual finger? Like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, I know. It's listen, I'm a displayer, not a player, so I don't care too much about it. It's just like, it's getting like, wow, like you can only do so much more now, Like,
right. I mean, listen, I'm all for it. I love the evolution of it. It's very interesting. One thing I do not like the evolution of is that new face technology.
I've been vocal about this too. It's just, I think more often than when they would do the traditional painting, it doesn't work.
To me, I describe it like this. It's like someone got a bunch of paint in their mouth and did the Triple H spit onto the figure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It looks like, it doesn't look quite right.
Yeah.
Like, I think more times than not, it looks off.
Have you seen, because a lot of people are getting the new Ultimate Macho Man. Have you seen the mess ups with the Macho where it looks
where his like eyes are on his cheeks and stuff?
No, there's one, dude. It looks like he was eating doo-doo and chocolate. It's literally
Hornswoggle style.
Dude, there's not even a mouth. It's just all brown all over his.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. But it's not just WWE who does that. Hasbro does that with Star Wars. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So like, I've done a couple podcasts and I always get the same question. So I was trying to come up with different questions for you. So here's a tough one, and you can think about it. What is your favorite figure in your least favorite line?
Favorite figure in least favorite line. That's a good one. I like that question.
I'll tell you mine. So mine is, I'm not big on Titantrons. Even when they came out as a kid, I wasn't too crazy. I have them,
right? Tons
of them. Wasn't too crazy about them. But those two cool figures are incredible. Beautiful. But more importantly, I'm really, really partial to the Grandmaster Sexay. I would say that's my favorite figure in a least favorite line.
I think my favorite figure in my least favorite line is the Big Show in the R3 line.
Okay, yeah.
Because I mean, think about it. That figure was so good that they included it in Ruthless Aggression lines.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It was just so like, I think sometimes toy companies, they think outside the box. Just think in the box. You know what I'm saying? It's like even the Titantrons, for instance. The concept of them, okay, they come down the Tron and like this little metal thing makes the music play. Okay, but by series 2, the guys don't play the songs.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like they're repeating songs or they're playing the generic WWF song. Even with R3, everyone's going to have the unique body. That lasted, 2 sets?
Yeah.
And then they're all repainted like Austin bodies.
Yep.
But that Big Show was great because it was like so larger than life, has the chokeslam hand.
Yeah.
It was perfect. Was it perfect to use as Andre the Giant in the Classic Superstars line? No. But for that Big Show, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to agree with you. And I'm not crazy about the R3 line either. I just think a lot of them, they look lumpy. Something off about them. But yeah, like I always say with the Titantron, they over delivered to the point that they under delivered, because
right. And like right now, Mattel's doing that with those new 2-packs. I forget the name of them, where they come with a stand and you're supposed to put that stand on the kid's belt. I mean, come on, like, who's really doing that? I mean, maybe there are some kids, but I feel like just make a belt, and then instead of these little stands, give us like some more deco or accessories.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Belts or something. Yeah. Like, I totally agree. I mean, I'm a big accessory guy. I love accessories with wrestling figures. I wish Hasbro's came with more. I wish LJN's came with more. I've always liked accessories. But so one of the parts of your collection that separates you from everybody else, right, is obviously the prototypes, unreleased stuff. You know what I mean? So we've seen so many, and this is a very controversial topic when people talk about prototypes with how many you have, and it's almost like it's almost like they describe you like you're sneaking into the Smithsonian and you're stealing them. You know what I mean? Like, you're not paying for these. Like, this is part of your collection. But what is your most wanted prototype? Do you have one?
So I always, I'm still on the Wrestling Figs message boards.
Yeah.
And I would go on, forever. And I would see these pre-production things and the prototypes. I thought they were so fascinating, but it was too much money. I wasn't really into it. You know what I'm saying? And like the majority of the time it wasn't anything that was unreleased. And back in the day, which ended up working in my favor, we'll discuss that, I'm sure. People were just, I don't know if they were in denial or jealous or just full of hate. And if someone would post something that they didn't think existed, they would say fake, 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 fake. And they would like crucify these people. Greg the Hammer Valentine, Rhythm Blues, fake, 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 fake. The Tugboat Tour, fake, 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 fake. The Mega Maniacs Brutus, fake, 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 fake. First of all, they end up to all be real. And I ended up getting them all to my collection because people were discouraged and thought they had nothing.
Yep.
And then I actually was doing like the real research. I'm a big believer in like, I would rather get something and then do the research as opposed to like miss out on it and like live in regret. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Kind of like with the Macho Man muscle grip that we found. Like
yes.
And you were like, it's worth the risk. If it's not it, I'll just get my money back. I'm doing PayPal.
Right.
And it turned out, it worked out in your favor because you matched it up with the Hulk Hogan and worked.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first prototype I got that really got me itchy was the green trunks Macho Man from that JCPenney Hasbro ring. And when I got that, I was like, oh man, like I should really try to track down one of those Greg Valentines. And then like once I ended up getting one, it like opened up the wheelhouse where then I was joining these Facebook groups, and not just wrestling figure groups, like prototype groups. And that's where I was able to find the Greg the Hammer Valentine that was used in that Toys R Us ad. And it was from a Hasbro employee. And that's when like, I'm like, oh my God, I got to track down these employees who have all these things that they're trying to sell or like are just in their garage. And that's what I've been doing the past couple of years and making relationships with people. And it's paid off. And, I've spent a lot of money, but I've also made a lot of money because, for instance, with the lot that I got the Greg the Hammer Valentine, the one from the Toys R Us ad, I had to spend like $40-something thousand on this lot, which is insane. It's crazy. Yep. Even now, just saying it blows my mind. But I bought it, kept what I wanted, flipped the rest, and made money.
Yeah.
So it was like an investment.
But see, even that's still a risky move for you that I think people aren't understanding. All they're hearing is like, oh, he flipped it and made this money. That's a risky move because the market gets so much smaller. It's like, man, I really, I have to know the right people to pitch this to. And like, it still is a risky move for you.
Like there are some things right now that I have bought. Not that I bought it to resell and like I'm screwed, but there are things that I've bought like in lots that I'm still trying to resell that you got to wait for the right buyer. Yeah. Like for instance, here we go. Like, so I found years ago, there was the Greg the Hammer Valentine. It was, it popped up on eBay. Everyone's saying fake, 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 fake. And I was in a bidding war. My friend actually outbid me for it. I think he won it for like $12,600. He ends up getting it like AFA graded. And when you see the figure in hand, all the musical notes were blue, and people were saying, well, this is why it's fake. In the ad, they're black. And in the ad, he's doing the clothesline in the other arm. First of all, if you do your research and find like the real ad, the image is reversed.
Yeah.
Okay. And the notes are blue on the ad. You just need a high quality photo. You can't look at someone's scan from a WF magazine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he ends up selling his. And then when I get the Macho Man, I try to find that original Greg. I can't do it, but there is one with like an arm. It's not broken, but that pin on the arm is removed. So I'm like, it's not the one I want, but I'll get it for now. And that was $8,000, which is insane.
Absolutely.
Right. But at the time, we only know of these two Gregs. A couple months later, I find this huge lot on Facebook, and it has the Greg from the ad. Like, it matches perfectly. It's the Greg, and has all these other pre-production pieces. So I'm like, well, I don't need the Greg with the arm removed. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to sell that. It takes a while. I finally sell it to this guy, Mark Bushy, for $8,000. Okay. Which is exactly what I paid for. Like a clean, like my hands are clean. It's done. Didn't make anything, but I didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
So he's trying to sell that figure. It's like he puts it on like every Facebook group. It's on eBay forever. He like gets a case signed by Greg to like make it more, presentable. He's trying to sell it for years. No buyers, no bites. I'm not going to reveal his price, but he sold it for a lot more than $8,000.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing. Hasbro's in general, the prices of some of the rare ones, the mint on cards, have skyrocketed just in the last year and a half. Like a year and a half ago, I literally bought a mint on card 1-2-3 kid for $190.
That's nuts.
And just to think how much that's inflated since then, I never would have guessed that. You know what I mean?
I do think, there's not everyone, but a lot of people are saying, oh, this bubble is going to burst. It's going to burst. I don't think it's going to burst. I think there will be a slight decline, but it's still a gradual increase. Like, for instance, like a couple months ago, there was the 1-2-3 kids was selling for like $1,000, a little over $1,000. And what happens is once one sells, someone's like, oh, let me sell mine. Oh, let me sell mine. And then like there's an influx.
Yeah.
It's like the demand needs to be greater than the supply.
Absolutely.
Right. But so now it's not like it's selling for $100 again or $200. It's still like in the high hundreds. It's just not, it's not 1,000. Yeah. So it's still going up. Yeah. It just, there's going to be a little, you got to take a couple steps back to go a lot steps forward.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And, but yeah, so all these prototypes, like I was on the boards when the whole Macho Man thing happened, when you picked up the Macho Man. And I remember seeing all of the naysayers, and I remember the naysayers with Greg Valentine. And now that I run Unreleased, I get it all the time. I've got so many people unfollowing me, and it's the same people from the board. I'm not going to name anybody, but they roll their eyes at me and say, "Oh, you don't know what this is." I'm like, I have pretty good authority of what this is and where it came, but I think so many people want to not believe with prototypes, whereas me, like, I see something like, oh man, I want to believe that there's more out there. Just like with these new WCW original San Francisco toy makers, the catalog that you just got.
Bro, got it right here.
Yeah, dude. Like, when I saw that, I was like, yes. Like, I want to discover more and more of these old lines, because obviously we can't get new stuff from these lines. But if I can believe that there's more out there in some way, shape, or form, I'm happy. You know what I mean?
And how crazy is it that 30 years later, it took 30 years for someone to scan or take a picture of this catalog?
Yeah.
And even if you go back on the Wrestling Figs message board, we talk about it this week on the pod, people were saying, hey, I saw this before. And people are like, no, you didn't. You're lying. That never happened. But like, now, yes, are some people lying? 100%.
Yeah.
Are customs like so good now that people are getting duped? 100%.
Yeah. But
you got to do your research. Absolutely. Like, for instance, with that Mega Maniacs Brutus I got, if you find that original post, this poor guy gets slaughtered for this figure. So I ended up getting it for a steal. And I'm like, all right, let me get it, and then I'll do my research. I prove through various ways that it's legit. People were saying, oh, that's a printout photoshopped card. Like, how can you tell from a photo? You know what I'm saying? So I was able to get the card. Obviously, I can tell because I can compare it to a real Hasbro card. Then I was able to find the proof sheet that has the Mega Maniacs Brutus. Like, it's unbelievable. Some people, they just want to doubt and hate for the sake of being negative on the internet.
Absolutely, man. And like, I remember for a while Zombie was going on there, and he's really just trying to share with the community. Oh, I found this. I discovered this. And I remember at one point, I think he got like crucified for showing something, and he was just like, I'm done posting on.
Right.
I'm not posting any more stuff on here, guys. But Yeah, since we were talking about the Macho Man earlier, the LGN, I remember, you used to talk about the nipples on
Yeah, the big
LGN.
nipples, little nipples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I have a question. How do you feel about the Big Show's nipples on the Titantron? Do you know about this?
No, he just his big nipples. What has he got?
They're huge pepperoni, double layered 3D nipples. I have to send it to you because I don't think this has ever been WTF, and I think it deserves it. These nipples are unbelievable, man. I'm gonna send you a picture after.
Is he the only Titantron with nipples?
I don't think he's the only one, dude. This is the only wrestling figure I've seen with nipples like this. It's double layer 3D nipples. I will send you a picture.
I'm looking at the Ultimate Edge right now. No nipples.
It's weird. If I was going through the LJNs last night when I was picking this figure, I was like, man, some have nipples, others don't. What is the deal with nipples?
That's
like,
weird.
It's like the forbidden thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna sneak them on this figure, but
yeah. It's odd.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a weird little phenomenon. But so we know about like sending your dad to Toys R Us, to hijack the haul that you and Brian had for the WrestleMania figures. So, but other than that, is there any what's the craziest length you've gone to get a figure?
Oh my God. I think the craziest length, take a shot. The craziest length would have to be the tugboat prototype. So the 2-up was posted on the boards, people crucifying it, fake. I'm going to listen to this. People were saying it was fake because the lines on this hand-painted prototype were not perfectly straight. Duh, it's a 2-up, it's giant of a big fat man. Of course the lines aren't going to be perfectly straight, right? But years went by and I was able to find the prototype unpainted polyurethane from a collector, and he had various other ones, including a Rhythm and Blues Greg. And part of the deal was that he would come to my house and I'd give him a tour of the toy room and he'd hand deliver these figures. So I guess that's the weirdest length I've ever went to, was to invite a stranger into my home and just trusting him that he'd have these figures. And it turns out once I got that tugboat, I'm like, you know what? Let me look up that tugboat picture, that 2-up. And I'm like, oh my God, it is real. Like the creases in the pants, the belt, the laces on the boots. It's real. I was able to track it down. I now have that in my collection also. And because of the relationship I have with this guy, recently I was able to get these Royal Rumble minifigures, the 2-ups of those, which I didn't even know they made.
Yeah, me either, man. Those things are incredible. It's like the full
and even when I posted those, people were doubting me, saying, no, those are just regular Hasbro's, like repainted. I'm like, okay, man.
But it's clearly not. But here's the thing: everybody always wants to be a naysayer. I remember,
and that's fine. That's fine. I get, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I get it. And I have no problem, if someone wants more proof. But if I give more proof, like how much proof do you want? Like, do you want me to just come out and say, okay, they're fake? I don't want fake stuff in my collection. Like what? Well, I'm not trying to dupe anybody. And another thing, like, I'm not trying to show off when I post this. I'm trying to to me as a fan, if someone posts something that I don't know exists, it's like the coolest thing ever. Oh my God, this came out. Absolutely. Oh my God, they were gonna make a shark and a renegade. Yeah. Like, you know how many things I could have gotten and just said, I'm keeping them to myself. What's the point in that? I want people to know it existed.
My favorite thing though is I know when you posted the polyurethane tugboat, I reposted it obviously, and then I got a bunch of messages saying, he 3D printed it. I'm like, if he was gonna 3D or even commission somebody to 3D print an unreleased figure, I don't think he's gonna go for tugboat. Yeah. There's so many different things that you would think, oh, this will get so much more attention. No, I'm gonna do tugboat.
Right.
I think just people can't handle that there's new stuff that not everybody who collects or holds on to prototype pieces is showing them out to the world.
Right. And that's another thing. There are some people who keep their collections private. And I respect that.
Yeah.
You're entitled to do whatever you want. Me personally, I like to spread the knowledge, That's just me.
I agree. And I tell people all the time, like, some of the best collections that I've ever seen are people that send me pictures and are like, don't show this to anybody. Like, they won't be private.
Right.
Like, they'll have everything, I
respect that. Yeah, I respect it. It's just, I like, I want the world to know about something, because I would want to know.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I wanted to know. Even if I wasn't going to buy it, I'd still want to know it was supposed to come out.
Absolutely. I agree. So but yeah, so that's pretty much all the figure collecting questions I have. The last thing I have is obviously I'm the Fig Heel. So who is your favorite heel?
Favorite heel? I'm gonna say The Miz.
Oh, that's a big one right now, especially
Current WWE champion. You want to know why he's my favorite heel? Because you know how many people like don't like that he's the champion? That's the point. That's the point.
Exactly.
Thank you. Ding, ding, ding.
Exactly. And personally, I love stuff like that.
Right.
If you're supposed to hate him, I'm like, oh, I automatically like this guy. Like, I don't want to hate him.
He doesn't deserve it. What is he? He's a duh. Thank you. Like, you're like, oh my God, you're feeding into it. It's working.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate heel.
That's
like you talk about. I wish, oh my God, like I'm so grateful for me. Imagine the hate I get. Imagine the hate Miz gets on social media every day.
Something tells me the Miz doesn't even look at it either.
No. But, you know, the Miz, I think, is a great heel. And I would say, yeah, he's my favorite heel. I think he's one of the most underrated performers in history. The guy can do it all. I mean, he's a 2-time WWE champion, 2-time Grand Slam champion.
I think I was reading he's the only person who.
Yeah, I read that as well.
That's impressive.
I mean, the Miz works his ass off. He's great in the ring, and he's the ultimate heel.
Yeah, I mean that's a great pick. I agree. So, any plugs that you want to do? Obviously, I think anybody who's watching probably already knows everything that you got going on. But
well, yeah, if you're into figures, listen to the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. We have a podcast every Friday that drops, available wherever you get your podcasts. Or we have YouTube stuff, youtube.com/MajorPod Network. And then also on that YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcast, it's MC True Long Island Story. And one thing I think a lot of your fans might appreciate is the Figure Wrestling Federation, the FWF. We had 6 months. We did a whole season, 6 months of weekly shows. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. Myself and Brian Myers rebooked the Attitude Era. And it's like an hour-long podcast. We have 6 months of it up wherever you get your podcast, and we did figure photography. It was just a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. But yeah, guys, I appreciate all the support and the hate. Yeah, I appreciate that too. I get it's better to be hated than nothing at all, right?
You got it, man. Yeah. I'm personally missing the FWF. You know, I'm trying to fill a void right now with podcasts because that was like my midweek meal prep, and I'm like, all right, I got the FWF going on. Yeah, it's not there, man. I need it. But
you gotta listen to MC Trolling Island Story. That's the replacement for now, and FWF will come back eventually, I hope. Yeah. It was just a lot of work, especially with the figure photography. And Brian and I were really trying to outdo each other with these shows. Yeah. We're booking an 11-segment 2-hour show, condensing it into a half hour, but we're still booking it like a real show. So it took a lot of work.
I think that's what people don't understand is that even though it is with figures, like you're still taking that time, like a writing team almost. You are literally booking a wrestling show.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like, you know, Chelsea, my fiance, be like, "What are you doing in there?" "Oh, I'm just doing this figure photography," but it was work. You know, it's for my job.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. Like, trust me, I get it. To create content takes a lot of work, and you guys are putting out so much content right now with the Major Pod Network that I'm really looking forward to everything and what you got to come. So, Matt, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure to finally talk to you face to face, and you know, maybe down the road we'll do something else again. So, anything else you want to say?
Well, thank you very much for giving me that macho man. I'll just say that. Ooh, yeah. I appreciate that.
Thanks for the Hogan head. That's a centerpiece in my.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. Hey, I think that looks 3D printed.
Yeah, right. Thanks, man. Take it easy. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram @FigHeel and @Unreleased Wrestling Figs. And you can visit the merch store at Pro Wrestling Tees and check out the Unreleased Wrestling Figure coloring books available now on Amazon.com, including Prime shipping.